Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is June 8th, 2023, and we are yet again talking about the visa bulletin because the new visa bulletin for July 2023 is out. And as you can see, I have the June 2023 pulled up in front of me. July 2023, in this video, we will briefly talk about the different family preference categories. We will talk about the priority date. I will explain what the difference is between the graph A and graph B. If you have never watched any of my videos, I will briefly explain that. But if you want to learn in detail on how to come up with rough estimates from the visa bulletin, if you are in one of the four family preference categories, then make sure to check out the most recent video that I've made. It's called The Easiest Way to Read Visa Bulletin, and I'll try to put it in the link in the description below so that you can find it easier. Before I begin, as always, I'm going to mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources, like for example this time it is from travel.state.gov, which is the official government website for US Department of State for their Bureau of Consular Affairs. So let me briefly make some introduction to the visa bulletin. If you are not familiar yet, I'm not going to spend too much time on the introduction, but briefly, there are certain categories out there whenever it comes to family reunification cases, and I'm talking about the I-130 petition for alien relative. There are certain categories that are unfortunately dealing with the visa backlog. The visa backlog, what is the visa backlog? So, if you are in one of those categories, and there are four categories, we will talk about them in a second. If you are in one of the four categories and somebody petitioned for you, or you are petitioning for someone and you are dealing with one of the four family preference categories, it means that you are part of this basically waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa. Now, the number of immigrant visas that are issued each year is limited. There's a cap on numbers, and if you want to dig deeper into how many visas are available a year, you can find some information here, right here, with the the preference categories and also the visa statistics if you really want to dig deeper into it. We're not going to do it in this video. So there's a limited number of visas that is available each year. There is more applications than there is available visas that is coming in each year. So each year the backlog is growing and growing and growing. So the visa bulletin is the tool that is showing us approximately how long we will be waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa based on our priority date. And the priority date is when the case, the I-130 case, was received and accepted by USCIS. So they send you the notice of action saying that, hey, we have received your case. The initial notice, the receipt, that's the date, that is the priority date. Okay, so let's talk about the four different family preference categories. There is first preference category, F1, unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens that are over 21. It doesn't say it here, but these are for those children that are over 21. Second category, it's broken down into two, F2A and F2B. F2A is spouses and children of permanent residents, and then F2B, unmarried sons and daughters 21 years of age or older of permanent residents. There's a third priority category, F3, married sons and daughters of US citizens, and then the fourth priority, which takes the longest to wait, is brothers and sisters of adult US citizens. So, if you are a US citizen and you're petitioning for your children under 21 or for your spouse, they fall under immediate relative category, which means that once the USCIS case is approved, I-130, the visa is already available, you'll become documentarily qualified, you do the medical examination, you go for an immigrant, visa interview, you get the immigrant visa. So it's just the administrative waiting. You don't deal with the visa backlog. However, if you fall into one of these, then you are dealing with the backlog. Okay, so now we got two graphs, graph A and graph B. Again, I'm going really fast in this video for those people that already know. So graph A, basically, if you want to tell the full amount of time, approximately, very rough estimates, and you will understand why they are rough estimates. If you want to understand how long the whole case is going to take from the priority date once the I-130 was accepted all the way to the availability of the immigrant visa, then probably, plus 3-4 months for the interview to be scheduled, but very rough estimate nevertheless, and I'll explain later why. You are looking at the graph A. Alright, graph B, if you want to know when the NVC portal is going to be open so that you can become documentarily qualified. So you are now judging the stages in between the family reunification process. Then you are looking at the graph B. Alright, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I do video every day answering questions. They go by volume. Right now we are on volume 111. So today I will be doing the volume 112. So make sure to post your question in the comments below and I will definitely answer it. Okay, so let's now compare. What is there new from June to July? I'm gonna scroll it down to this point right here in July. And I'll do the same thing for June and we'll see if there's any changes in graph A, any movement forward. Let's see. So F1 category, there are several different chargeability areas. There is China, separate chargeability area, India, separate one, Mexico and Philippines. And then literally the rest of the world is in all chargeability areas. So if you're in none of these, then you're gonna be looking at the column right here. So for the purpose of this video, we're gonna be looking at this mostly. So let's take a look for F1, compare this. Looks like for F1, no movement for all chargeability, no movement for China, India, Mexico, and Philippines, absolutely. Oh no, wait a second, there is a movement just a tiny little bit for Mexico. For Mexico right here, pay attention right here, this is July Visa Bulletin, this is June. So just 20 days. 20 days forward. Well, at least some movement. Normally you would expect for a whole month, you would expect the whole month of movement, but there's only 20 days for Mexico and nobody else for F1. Let's move to F2A. Now we're looking at F2A. F2A all chargeability, nothing. China, F2A, nothing. India, nothing. Mexico, nothing. And then Philippines, nothing at all. F2B, all chargeability area, nothing. China, nothing at all. India, nothing at all. Mexico, nothing at all. And oh no, wait a second. There is a movement for Mexico once again on F2B category. So looks like from June we got June, July, August. Okay, so there's 2 months movement for Mexico in F2B category, which is great because Mexico, as you can see, the wait time for beneficiaries in Mexico is just crazy ridiculous. Just for your comparison, for all chargeability areas, for China, for India. And Philippines is a little bit longer, but these three, they are September 2015, and then for Mexico, it's 14 years more than that. Crazy times. But there is some movement for Mexico, which is great. Okay, moving further to F3 now. Let's see if there is anything in F3 category. Nothing for all chargeability. Nothing for China. Oh no, there is for well, actually there is for all chargeability as well. Just what is it, like 8 plus, what is it, 14, so 2 weeks movement. In the whole month there's 2 weeks movement. Hey, at least something is better than nothing. Same thing for China, same thing for India. There's some good movement. Wow, let's see, November 1997 in Mexico for F3, and now January 1998. So there was a movement of, okay, let me see, my math is horrible, please, be patient with me. It's November, December, January. So 3.5 months because it's January 15th. 3.5 months movement for Mexico, very good. Still ridiculously crazy time. As you can see, if somebody, so what that means right here is the date. And I know it's going to be mind-blowing for some people. But let's say if you are, if you came from Mexico long time ago and you are now a US citizen and you are petitioning for your married son that is still in Mexico. Roughly, as of right now, you will be waiting 23 plus 2, 25 years for the availability of the immigrant visa. Yes, that's how bad it is for some of the categories. Moving further, Philippines, F3, June 02, no movement for Philippines, unfortunately. Okay, let's look at the F4 now, brothers and sisters of US citizens. There's a little bit of the movement, just a couple weeks. Okay, again, something is better than nothing. Same thing for China. No movement for some reason for India, Mexico, no movement for Mexico, and then no movement for Philippines, unfortunately. Okay, so we're done with the graph A. That is again the whole thing, and it's a very, very rough estimate. The reason why it is a very rough estimate is because, for example, right now you can say, okay, F1, December 2014, so roughly 9 years. The case will take 9 years and roughly 9.5 years, roughly. But because the visa backlog keeps on growing, because there is still limited number of immigrant visas that is available each year, and there is more applications that are coming in, the visa backlog is growing. So today we have there is no movement this month, for example. Next month there might be no movement, and then the next month there might be no movement, and then the next month there might be only 2 weeks movement. So you see, as of right now, it is 9.5 years. But, a few years down the road, it might only move a year. And again, something is better than nothing, because as you can see, some of the categories don't move at all, which is not very good. But keep in mind, that's why it is a very rough estimate. Okay, let's move on to the graph B now on both, and we will see what kind of movement we can detect in the graph B. Again, graph B is if you have been approved by USCIS and your case has been sent to the NVC for further processing. A lot of times you are just waiting with an approved case closer to the availability of the immigrant visa, and you are not receiving the welcome letter from the NVC portal that your portal is open. You can log into it, but you cannot do anything. You can pay the fees, and if you're not familiar with the process of becoming documentarily qualified, I have the video on this channel. Check it out. It's called Documentarily Qualified. What does it mean? And there I show the real NVC portal that was already documentarily qualified, and you can see what applications, what fees, what documents you have to submit in order to become documentarily qualified. So I highly recommend that. So if you're waiting for the NVC to fully open up, you're looking at the graph B to estimate when that NVC portal is going to be fully open to you so that you can become documentarily qualified. So the same thing, we have these 4 preference categories. Let's take a look. F1, all chargeability area. Okay, so there is some movement from June to, wow, there's actually really, really good movement for F1. There is from January to September, so 8-9 months movement forward. That is fantastic news. Again, there wasn't really much movement in graph A, unfortunately, but at least, people have faster access to the NVC portal to become documentarily qualified. That is great. So for China, the same thing. India, the same thing. Mexico, let's see. For Mexico, there was only 1 month movement, which is kind of sad because they already take so long. Philippines, nothing at all. I don't know why Philippines, there's nothing at all for Philippines. Okay, looking at F2A now, it's showing current, but this is not correct. In May, it was showing current. It's not correct. Still showing current. What that means is as soon as your case is approved, once your case is approved by USCIS and transferred to the NVC, the current means that as soon as NVC receives it, they open up the portal to become documentarily qualified. Now, I have gotten a few questions from people in F2A category that said that they are waiting for an NVC portal to open to them. So that current might not be accurate. It might not be the case. So if you are in F2A category, and I'm asking for a favor, if you are in F2A category and if you have been recently approved by USCIS and your case has been transferred to the NVC, please comment and let everybody know if you got the full access to the NVC portal and you can start your documentary qualification process or not. That would be very helpful to determine if it is really current or if it's fake news. Okay, let's move on to the F2B. F2B we have from June. This is June 2023, January 2017. January 2017, no movement for F2B, unfortunately. China, no movement. India, no movement. Mexico, okay, so we got some movement for Mexico in F2B. Check this out. Look at this one right here. And January 02, and then we got April 02. So there was a movement of February, March, April. So like 3 months movement. Pretty good. And then Philippines, No movement for Philippines at all. I'm sorry if you're from Philippines. I don't know why there was absolutely no movement for Philippines this time at all. Okay, we're looking at F3 now. All chargeability area. Okay, there is 1 month movement from June 08, February 2010. Well, not the whole month, only like 22 days, but still, something is better than nothing. Let's see. Same thing for China, same thing for India. No movement for Mexico, unfortunately. And then for Philippines, no movement at all for Philippines. And then we're going to the F4. This is July, showing March 08, February 08. So there was a movement of 1 month for F4, which is, you know, at least this is the least that we should be expecting. 1 month Visa Bulletin, 1 month of movement. But as you can see, it's not always the case. March, February, same thing for China. India, no movement for India. Unfortunately, Mexico, April 15, April 01, so 15 days for Mexico. As you can see, this is June Visa Bulletin. And then we are in July right here, showing 15. Okay, not bad. And then Philippines, no movement at all for Philippines. Okay, so overall, I have to say July 2023 Visa Bulletin, to kind of give you a conclusion for this video, is definitely better than what we had in June versus May, because from May to June, if you have been subscribed to the channel, if you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, because I make, once a new Visa Bulletin comes out, immediately I make this kind of video comparing it to previous and kind of giving the overall overview and a little bit of instructions so that you can understand, because as you can see, it is extremely important to understand Visa Bulletin and to stay on top of it, always monitoring and always checking it, making sure that your case is not just in the limbo and it's outside of normal processing times according to the Visa Bulletin. You definitely don't want that. You want to stay on top of it. So if you have seen the previous June video that I've made on June Visa Bulletin, you will know that there was zero movement from May. It was for everything. It was just literally a copy paste, graph A and graph B, which is bad, very bad. So at least some kind of movement in July for some of the categories, as you can see, was a pretty good movement, as much as like 8 or 9 months for some of the categories, which is fantastic. Some movement for Mexico, and I keep saying Mexico because I keep bringing up Mexico because you know the wait times for Mexico chargeability areas, they are just out of control. They're crazy. You know, some of these categories, people wait for insane amount of years. You know, U.S. citizen waiting for their son or daughter who was just married. You know, so what? Okay, married, they're married. Okay, big deal. Why do they have to wait for 26 years to see their married son or married daughter? In 26 years, you know, there's no guarantee you're going to be alive in 26 years, but I don't want to sound pessimistic, but that's the reality of things. So make sure you understand this, make sure you stay on top of it, because from this understanding, you know, then you can make the judgment if you need to submit a case inquiry to the NVC, if you need to look for other avenues in order to, you know, bring this to the attention of general public that does not realize that there are crazy wait times like this for people who are doing everything legally. So it's important to understand it. So thank you very much for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I always stay on top of your comments. As you can see, all recent comments that came up, I will be answering these in volume 112. I go by volumes, or answering immigration questions. So just whatever video and whichever video, post them in the comments below and I will have it addressed. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. God bless, and I will see you in the next video.